In the 1880s, Vicente Martinez Ybor selected Tampa Bay as the epicenter for his cigar-making trade, and you can still see remnants of that era in the brick-paved roads and the architecture of the buildings. One particular business that has withstood the rise and fall and re-rise of Ybor City is Columbia Restaurant. Established on September 22nd, 1905, Columbia is still popular today with locals and tourists, and it even comes with its own gift shop. Florida's oldest restaurant, dinner at Columbia is served with a spectacular nightly flamenco show. But it's after dinner that Ybor really lights up, with endless bars and clubs on legendary 7th Avenue. In the 1990s, the city of Tampa blocked off 7th Avenue, the heart and soul of Ybor City, to vehicular traffic and opened it up to pub crawlers and party seekers. I frequented this area more than I'd like to share, but hey, Tampa's my college town and Ybor was my release from finals and midterms. Ybor City is truly a feast for the senses, where one can explore their wild side, simply relish in the history of this charming Latin quarter, or plan date night out in the entertainment district known as Centro Ybor. Over recent years, the area around 7th Avenue and 16th Street has become known as Gaybor. One can find several establishments that are gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transvestite friendly. You can sit back, socialize, and enjoy a good drag show. A mix of old and new with a splash of Cuban and European culture with an artsy vibe. Ybor City will transport you to another world. From sunrise to sunset, there is always something to do in Ybor City. You just have to pick your poison. If you still want to see more, there are museums and guided tours throughout the year. Until next time, I'm Monica, off to get a drink.
This is Robin Kay here at the Edison and Ford Winter Estates in Fort Myers, Florida, which is now home to a marvelous museum and garden. In 1885, Thomas Edison, the inventor of the incandescent light bulb, purchased this property on the Caloosahatchee River to build a vacation home that would be his winter retreat. 3 decades later, Edison's good friend Henry Ford purchased the home next door.
Not everybody knows that Thomas Edison and Henry Ford actually worked together. In fact, Henry Ford worked for Thomas Edison as an engineer. He was 20 years Thomas Edison's junior. So by 1904, Henry Ford left Thomas Edison's employment and opened the Ford Motor Company. But they always stayed friends. And so Henry Ford would visit Thomas Edison here in Fort Myers, and eventually he visited often enough that he bought the house next door.
Edison, Ford, and Harvey Firestone became concerned about the rising cost of rubber during World War I and formed the Edison Botanic Research Corporation. Edison theorized that he could improve and make more efficient the fabrication of rubber.
The laboratory is probably the most unique feature of this property. Visitors are always amazed when they come expecting to see a fancy house and beautiful gardens, and then they also find a research lab. The laboratory dates to the 1920s. Edison's hands touched this equipment. Henry Ford walked around this laboratory. Harvey Firestone visited.
Edison's 13-acre botanical garden, which began as an experimental garden, contains more than 1,000 varieties of plants from around the world, including an African sausage tree and a 400-foot banyan tree. The Edison Ford Winter Estates also invites the public to enjoy a variety of tours and an array of educational programming offered throughout the year.
This is one of the 10 most visited historic home sites in America. We've just finished $14 million in restoration, so the site is dazzling. It won the National Trust Award a few years ago. The gardens won the National Garden Club Award a few years ago. What's really neat about this place is you can experience it on all levels. We love doing demonstrations with the scientific equipment in the museum. We love doing behind-the-scenes tours inside the houses or in the laboratory like this. We do garden talks, so if you're interested in gardening and how tropical plants live, it's very good when you visit here to check out the website or give a call before you come, because you'll want to see how you want to plan your day.
Don't forget, the Edison Ford is open daily from 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. This is Robin Kay reporting from the Edison Ford Winter Estates in Fort Myers, Florida.
Everglades National Park covers nearly 1.5 million acres, the largest subtropical wilderness in the United States. It is the anchor to South Florida's ecosystem and encompasses an incredibly rich mixture of plant and wildlife habitats. Early morning fog shrouds the Everglades, from a peaceful nighttime silence to the wild chatter of the glades. Another day commences in the circle of life. If life hangs by a thread in the Everglades, that thread is clean, fresh water. Once there was a free-flowing river across southern Florida, 50 miles wide and 1 foot deep. Today, all the water flowing into the Everglades is controlled by a man-made system of canals and levees. Restoring this river to mimic its natural seasonal cycles has been the focus of the massive effort to restore this biological wonderland. The residents of the Everglades are as peculiar as they are varied. The sky is filled with birds of every color. If the birds rule the sky, the American crocodile and the American alligator rule the water. Alligators have extraordinarily large mouths with jaw muscles designed to kill and eat with a single bite. And if it moves, alligators eat it. Freshwater turtles, both red-bellied slider and softshell, are a staple food. But even gators are born into this world as vulnerable as any other newborn resident. Everglades National Park is a wonderfully unique place with a diversity of life unlike anywhere else. And thanks to the restoration efforts of so many, future generations will have a chance to enjoy its treasures. Treasures that are truly priceless.
This is the remarkable 7-mile bridge in the Florida Keys. It's the centerpiece of the Overseas Highway, the southernmost section of America's Route 1 that runs through the famous subtropical island chain for 127 miles.
And because it is one of America's truly great highways, there really is only one way to see it, and that is by road, meaning you'll probably have to hire a car. That, however, is for the camera crew, because this bad boy, well, he's mine.
On my journey on this all-American road, I head southwest from Key Largo, renowned for snorkeling at John Pennycamp Coral Reef State Park and the surrounding waters of the Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary. While there, it's worth keeping your eyes peeled as you'll discover hidden gems like this giant mural by prolific marine artist Wyland. And this is well worth a visit, the restored original vessel from John Huston's classic film The African Queen, starring Humphrey Bogart.
You know, I've never really been on many movie sets, and this is like being on a movie set.
After leaving Key Largo, my first port of call on this adventure through the Keys is a fishing village community spread over 4 islands, Isla Mirada, home to the world's largest anatomically correct lobster, which is well worth a photo or two.
We're sitting here in the middle of Isla Mirada, the sport fishing capital of the world. We can look for tarpon, we can look for redfish, we can go catch a shark if you like.
Back on the highway, and I'm headed to the islands of Marathon, a 16-mile-long family-friendly region where you can fly like James Bond.
It's actually a lot easier than people think. It's simply moving up and down and the throttle. As long as you control that, you're safe. You're ready to go. Ready to fly?
This has to be a new addition to the bucket list. So we've just hit the start of something truly remarkable and a feat of engineering. It's the 7-mile bridge here in the Florida Keys, and with a car like this on a day like today, there is no better road to drive.
Now I've stopped off here at Baja Honda State Park,
Which is a great location to take in a couple of the very best things that the Florida Keys has to offer. I'm talking great weather and picturesque sandy beaches. It's also a great place to spot both the new and the old. And by that I mean this, the new current highway, US number 1, all the way from Miami down to Key West. And this, the original railroad, almost 100 years old, and the very first highway.
The railroad was the brainchild of Henry Flagler, an American tycoon who developed the Florida East Coast Railway. It linked the far outreaches of the Keys to the then modest town of Miami, and construction began in 1905.
For more than 7 years, men and machines relentlessly pushed forward on the railroad that went to sea. Henry Flagler's genius, but yet very challenging project. A project that at any given time, 4,000 men were working on under incredibly harsh conditions. Imagine the sun beating down and, of course, having to invent brand new techniques in railroad construction. Deep sea diving and building the bridges, all of which using the most simple and basic of tools.
His vision to link up the islands strengthened the local economy and unlocked the Keys for businesses, residents, and luckily for me, tourists. Back behind the wheel, and it's just a little further along this historic scenic byway to my final destination, Key West. Closer to Cuba than to Miami, this free-spirited community has attracted many people away from the fast-paced lifestyle of mainland America, among them former writers Tennessee Williams, and perhaps its most famous former resident, Ernest Hemingway.
He did a lot of his best writing here. People don't realize that they've had him down here fighting and drinking and carousing, but he did a lot of work in addition to that.
And so profound is Hemingway's legend here that a whole festival takes place every year in his honor.
It comes in the end of July when his birthday was, and it's a very festive occasion, and the town is full of people celebrating it.
Hemingway spent 10 years in Key West, and you can be sure that he indulged in all the pleasures this unpretentious city has to offer. And when you visit here today, you can still feel the great atmosphere that kept him here for so long.
So that is it. We're at journey's end.
After an incredible trip of more than 125 miles.
We're here at the southernmost point of continental United States of America, just 90 miles that way till you hit Cuba. And what a trip it's been through some of the most scenic highway I have ever been lucky enough to travel.
Thank you, Henry Flagler, for creating the railroad that started the Keys' evolution into a prime vacation destination.